Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Camtasia. Camtasia is a really interesting product. It does screen recording and it's a pretty robust little editor, I have to say, so I'm excited to show you what it does. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Jen. I have a YouTube channel all about helping you make better videos. So I do a lot of different types of content where I talk about creating content, or I do product reviews like the one we're going to talk about today. If you've been here for a while, welcome back. I'm so happy to see you. We are on the road to 10,000 subscribers. When do you think we're going to hit that big 10,000 number? Hopefully pretty soon. So let's talk about Camtasia. Quick little aside here, I was actually supposed to do a product review of Explaindio today, and a lot of guys had asked me about doing Explaindio, and I opened it up and just take a look. I couldn't stand this product from the second I opened it. It looked like right out of the 90s, like Oregon Trail, and when I tried to like import or open assets, I had to have like a Pixabay account, even though I paid for Explaindio for $67, and even just the sign-up process was a nightmare. The whole thing was bad. So if you've been wondering why I haven't reviewed Explaindio, wonder no more. I did look at it and it was terrible. So let's not focus on that. Let's focus on something that's actually pretty cool, which is Camtasia. So Camtasia is like kind of a dual product. I haven't seen anything else like this. I think it's really interesting. It's a really great screen recording software, and then it's also an editing tool. So you can take those screen recordings and do really cool stuff to them and also import other media so you can really make a finished, robust video. And the other thing that Camtasia does is it lets you build quizzes within your video. So if you take that video and upload it to the screencast platform, which we'll talk about, then you can actually have the video stop and have your viewer take a quick quiz and then have the video keep going. It's so great if you're making training videos. This is such an amazing tool. So let's dive right in and look at it. When we open up Camtasia, this is what we see. It actually looks a lot like Final Cut. You've got your media bin over here. There's a lot of different effects that you can choose from once you've laid clips onto your timeline over here on the left. The timeline is down here at the bottom of the screen. And then this property button opens up a whole other window once we've laid clips into our timeline, where we can make adjustments to the filters and the effects that we've applied to our clips. So we will get there. But the first thing you're going to want to do is record something from your screen. Let me show you how that works. So what you want to do is draw your attention to the top left corner of the screen. Let's hit that record button, and the Camtasia window goes away, and then it has this little pop-up window where you can start recording. I'm just going to record something really quick just to show you this process. I actually already recorded something earlier that we're going to play with, so I can show you how it works. But just for this purposes, here is where you're in recording. I know that because when I open up Camtasia again, the record button is white. Now, if I want to stop recording, I'm going to hit that button. And right away in our bin is this recording. I'm going to right click this clip and show you something. I'm going to hit details, and you can see the dimensions of this clip are huge. It is a very high quality recording. I know part of that is probably because of like the quality monitor that I'm on, so I have a lot of resolution, but I really love how high quality the screen recordings in Camtasia are. That's awesome, because you can always dumb things down and make the files smaller and lower resolution, but you can never scale them up and make them bigger and higher resolution. So I think this is really special. I really like that a lot. All right, let's close out of that and let's drop this other recording that I did earlier. I just kind of created this simple thing in Motion, something I'm sort of working on for an actual client. And you know what I'm noticing is that that screen recording automatically, the first one we just did, automatically dropped onto my first track. I'm going to select that and hit delete. All right, so if I scrub through, I can see this other recording that I made. What I'm going to want to do is just trim this. So I'm just grabbing the end of the clip and trimming away. And I can actually just take this clip and move it up and down different tracks. I can also take this little handle and give myself a little more room down here. And I can have so many tracks in this timeline, which I really like. So what I want to show you that's really cool with these screen recordings that you create in Camtasia is that we can do some really neat stuff with our cursor from the recording. So the recording actually knows where your mouse cursor is. It knows what keys you're hitting on your keyboard. And so then you can make annotations if you're trying to do a tutorial video to show someone how to use something on a computer. If you're trying to say click over here or press this button to do that, and that's the shortcut, it is really demonstrative for you. So if you're doing a training video that requires a screen capture where you're really giving someone instructions, it's awesome. So let me first show you how we highlight our cursor. I'm going to click on over to cursor effects, and there's a lot of things I can do. I can highlight it with a colored circle around it. I can darken everything around the cursor, so just the area that I want to show is highlighted, or I can magnify, which I actually really like. I'm going to drop that magnifying effect onto my clip. So literally I'm just clicking this box, I'm dragging, and I'm releasing it once I get to the clip. Now let's go on over to this properties button on the center side of my screen. Here is the scale of my actual clip. I can adjust it here. I can make it smaller. So this whole black area is my canvas, but I can make the screen kind of shrink down. So if I wanted to show something behind it, I could do that. And I can adjust the opacity. I can adjust the rotation and a lot of the different axes. And then you can adjust the position either by grabbing the clip and moving it around or using these fields over here. But let's look at that cursor effect. So you'll see this little film strip icon here toward the top right of the screen. And then next to it, you'll see this little arrow. That's what we want to focus on. So right here, cursor magnify, that is the effect that we applied to our clip. Now watch this. Look over, draw your attention here. On the canvas, you see where my mouse is? I can magnify just this little area where my cursor is hovering, and then I can actually make my cursor look really big. So if you were trying to show someone how to use a software like this thing that I'm showing you in Apple Motion, then being able to zoom in on these little tiny fields can actually really help the viewer understand and learn from you. So this is a really helpful feature. You can actually even apply other highlighting features to the same clip, and so it'll do a few different things. Let me show you that real quick. So let's go on over to the highlight button. I'm going to drag it down to my clip, and here it appears in my properties window, and I can change the color of that highlight to any color I want. You can see here there's this whole range of colors. And again, I can change the opacity, I can change the softness, and it'll just follow around. Now I'm just going to show you with my timeline. It'll follow everything around. To me, that's pretty basic in terms of a screen recording software like ScreenFlow. You can do a lot of these features in other platforms, but I don't think they combine like the editing capabilities the same way Camtasia does with this kind of layout where you have all these effects. The other pretty basic feature you're going to need if you're doing this type of screen recording and training is annotations. You want to kind of like highlight and point things out and add contextual text to your screen. So if we hit annotations, and it looks like there's just a few different styles here, but if you actually click up to all, you can see all these different types of annotations. Some of them are just basic text. Some of them have arrows and thought bubbles around them. I'm just going to drag basic text on here, and you can see that since my playhead, now look at the timeline, you can see that since my playhead was kind of in the middle of the clip below it, this is where my text, it just kind of pops in right there. But look, if I go over to behaviors, I can make this text do a lot of other features. And I really like that you can just hover your cursor over the bin, the behaviors bin, and see what the different effects are. So this one can kind of just bounce in, and I like that. I'm going to drop that in. And let's play it back. Now to play back our timeline is really simple. You just need to hit the space bar, just like most editing programs. And then of course, if you want to modify the text, I'm going to draw your attention over to the properties window. There's all my fonts are already in here. These are all the fonts I own, and that's awesome. I love that. Of course, you know I talk about that all the time. If I want to change the text, I actually just double click it in my canvas window and I can change that text. So that's kind of some basic features that a screen recording software might offer to you. I like these. I think Camtasia is definitely on the higher end quality of screen recording software. So I do like this very much. Now let's kind of focus more on the editing part, because what I like about Camtasia is that if you wanted to easily mix screen recordings and live action video, like I often do in my own videos, then this is a pretty cool product. So let me show you what else we can do. We can actually import our own media into the bin. So you see I've got screen recordings here, but you can also see that I've got a video clip in here, and I'm going to show you how to bring in another video clip. So I'm going to head on over to my desktop. I'm going to select this clip right here, and I'm going to drop it into my bin. And there it is, drag and drop, and it's imported. Now, one thing to know about importing video files into Camtasia is that it doesn't take every kind of file type. I actually had to convert this clip into a H.264 codec from the Apple ProRes that it originally was from my camera. So if you work with professional file types, you're gonna have to have an extra step in importing things into Camtasia. It's definitely more of like a consumer product, this platform. So just know that it's not gonna work with every clip that you shoot if you use a high-end camera, and that you are gonna have to do some extra steps if you did wanna use Camtasia with those clips. So let me take this drone shot and drag it onto my timeline. Now remember, anytime you add a clip to the top track in your timeline, and this goes for pretty much almost any editing platform, that clip is going to lay on top of everything underneath it. So you'll see here that the dimensions of this drone shot are actually a little bit different from the rest of my clips. You can see under here my little desktop peeking out from my screen recording. And I can move this around. So I'm going to scale this up a hair. And you'll also notice that this clip looks a little washed out. That's because we shot this clip with our drone and we shot it flat. So I have greater color control in editing normally. But I have to say Camtasia's color correction tools are not great at all. They're not very professional. I'm going to show you what it does. You just really do not have a lot of control, and it does some weird effects. So let me show you what I mean. Let's go on over here to visual effects, and you can see all the different effects I have. It's not a ton, but let's do color adjustment. I'm going to drop that on here. So it immediately makes it black and white, which I don't understand. It has the saturation potted all the way down, so I can creep up that saturation. And then look though, look at how overexposed everything looks. So the contrast is really high, as is the brightness. I don't like these color effects at all. Yeah, and the highest saturation level I can do is what Camtasia considers 100%. In Final Cut, I could make this almost look cartoonish with my saturation, which is not something I would normally do. But if I was trying to do something stylized and for some reason I really wanted to make something very oversaturated, I would be able to do that if I wanted to. So I have to say the color control effects on Camtasia are not great. If that's something you don't care about, then I think you'd be fine with this product, but it's just not amazing. One thing that's actually kind of cool is the reflection tool. So I'm going to drop reflection on here, and I'm actually going to delete my other tracks so that my drone shot is the only clip. And I'm actually going to scale this down, and look what happens. There's a really cool reflection effect on here, which I quite like. I think it would work better if it had some sort of colorized background underneath, which we could incorporate, but I do like that. One of the things I've noticed about Camtasia is that the way that the platform kind of works is that you do a lot of dragging and dropping, and that's nice because it's fast. So the other color effect that really kind of grabbed my eye is where is it? Remove a color. Now you can see here the example they have is someone shot in front of a green screen. Now shooting things over a green screen, it's more complicated to get a good clean key than most people think it is. A lot of times you might not be able to, cut out the background perfectly. You may have a little bit of green halo around someone. And so having a good keyer is, important. And I'm interested to see what the quality of the keyer is in Camtasia. So I did import, you saw me earlier, I imported someone who was shot over a green screen. Let's check it out and see how that looks. All right, so here he is. And let's drop that keyer. They call it remove a color, but it's actually the technical word is Chroma Key. We're gonna drop that on there and see what happens. Okay, nothing yet. Now you can see here the green of my background is slightly different than the green that they've assigned as default on the color keyer. That's okay. I'm gonna drop down, grab this color picker. Wow. Okay. So just without making any adjustments, let me just show you what I'm seeing here. You can see that part of his jacket has disappeared. You can see he looks a little transparent. Can you see that? You can see, let me zoom in a little. You can see the building through his hair and his neck. There's a lot of splotchiness here. So let's make some adjustments. I'm going to play with the tolerance. I'm going to dial it down. And look, he filled right out. I'm actually going to hide this lower track so we can see. Okay, so you see this is the noise from my green background. So I'm going to find the sweet spot of my tolerance. So the tolerance was defaulted to 10, and I felt like that was not great. So now if I bring it down to 3, look at that. All that background noise is gone, but look at his shoulders. I am seeing a little bit of a green halo. Let me play with that a little. I'm going to dial down the softness. Okay, that didn't make it better. Let's dial it up. Wow, and look, you guys, that green halo is pretty much gone. That's pretty good. In Final Cut or any program I use, I always have to make some sort of adjustments with my keyer. This is a good key tool. I'm a little shook right now. This is Camtasia. Very good. Now, this clip does have audio. I'm a little curious about the audio settings on here. So let me click on over. So I've got my clip selected. I'm over at the Properties tab. And, okay, I can adjust the volume of my clip. Now, if I pump up what's called the gain, look at the bottom in the timeline. Look at my waveforms. They're going up and down. So it's getting louder and quieter. But I cannot split the channels. So this audio has 2 channels on it. It has the camera microphone, the little teeny dinky microphone on the camera, and then it has my boom mic over this gentleman's head. So I can't split the background noise from my primary microphone in Camtasia. Again, in a lot of applications, it really wouldn't even matter, but for me, it does because I have 2 channels of audio. So just know that the audio editing on Camtasia is not good. But let's now turn into what is really special about Camtasia, and that is the quizzes. So in my line of work, I don't have to do a lot of quiz stuff. I do some training videos, but this quiz feature is really great if you need it, if you're doing quizzes for students or training for your employees or anything like that. So let me show you how it works because it's very special. I'm going to draw your attention to the left side of the screen. See this little down arrow? Let's click that and look what happened. This little quiz bar pulled up. So, and now look, when I run my cursor over the timeline, a little green crosshairs shows up. So what this does is it allows me to click anywhere on my timeline and add a quiz. I'm going to click that quiz and let's look on over to the properties window. So what we can do here is change the type of the quiz. So true, false, multiple choice, fill in the blank, or short answer. And We can add a question. So let's put the sky is blue, and we're going to say it's true is the answer. Now to make this work, again, you need the screencast platform. So you need to upload this video that we're going to export to Screencast, which is not free. They charge you to host there. So that's just something you should consider when you're buying Camtasia. And if you're trying to use the quiz functionality, you definitely want to think about the cost of Screencast with your purchase, because that is a separate purchase. Okay, now I want to show you how the transitions work in Camtasia. So the first thing I want to do is remove this little quiz cursor I have where all these little green crosshairs come up and it thinks I want to add quizzes to my timeline. To do that, it's really simple. I'm just going to go on over to the top left of the timeline, hit that up arrow, and it's gone. So that's good. I'm also going to delete this gentleman here. I'm going to trim up this shot. And I'm going to add a clip. I'm not making like a coherent video here. I am just kind of just showing you all the different features that Camtasia offers. So here's the recording we did at the beginning of my tutorial. It doesn't really show you anything, but I'm going to butt these two clips together. Let me zoom in a little tighter so you can see. And let's add a transition. So to do that, we go over to the top left of the platform. We're going to hit the transitions button over here. And here are all my transitions. There's not tons of transitions, but I'm not a huge fan of like overly doing it with the transitions anyway. So I think there's like enough here to get by, especially if you're just doing a training video. If you were trying to do some fancy marketing video, I don't think these are amazing, but for what Camtasia I think is really designed for, these are definitely sufficient. So let me show you how they work. You can preview the transition by just kind of hovering your cursor over the thumbnail, and I love that very much. I actually think Final Cut could improve its platform by offering the same kind of preview. Let's just pick this barn door one. I'm gonna click it, drag it, and drop it between my clips. And that is how that transition looks. Now, if I want to change the length of the transition to make it go slower or faster, I can expand it to make it go slower. I can shrink it to make it go faster. And let's just preview. And that opens right up. So now let's talk about what I like and dislike about Camtasia. I like that it's such a hybrid product, that it's both screen recording and editing in one. A lot of screen recorders do have some editing functionality, and you can even import live action video into them, but this had a lot of bells and whistles. Like you could even use like a green screen effect in Camtasia, which I think is like really good. It's definitely a step above a typical screen recording software. I also really liked all the annotation tools, and especially like the cursor tools where you could really highlight parts of the screen where your cursor is hovering. I thought that was really, really good. And of course, the fact that you can have your video be interactive by building quizzes into your video is like really special and a really useful, practical product for a lot of different applications. So I thought that was like super. What I dislike about Camtasia is that there's a few things. I wish the editing tools were a little more robust, because if I had a client that wanted me to build a video in Camtasia so they could build in those quizzes, I don't think I could deliver to them the quality of the video that I would be able to create if I was using Final Cut. So I really wish that the quiz feature was something in a better editor. I didn't like that you couldn't have separate audio channels. I didn't like the color grading feature. Was honestly like, why bother? I don't know how you could make anything look better with that color adjustment tool. It just really was lackluster. And the only other consideration, I'm not going to say this is a drawback to Camtasia, but that you have to, if you want the quiz functionality, you have to subscribe to the Screencast platform, which I think is $99 a year. So on top of having to buy Camtasia, you also have to subscribe to that Screencast platform. So just know that that's a bit of an extra cost if you do want those quizzes. But overall, I have to say Camtasia is a thumbs up. It's not the most robust editor, but if you're a beginner and you want to make a video that's a little more polished than a very basic editor, I think you'd be really happy with Camtasia. So Like I said, I could recommend this product to you if you need the quiz application or screen recording is really important for you. So thumbs up to Camtasia. I hope you liked this review. If you did, give me a thumbs up. And you guys, I will see you next week.